From deep inside the belly of Tim Hortons Field, underneath the stands, the Forge Audio Network presents The Captain's Log with Kyle Bekker and Mitch Houlahan, presented by Bench Brewing.
Okay, welcome to episode 1 of The Captain's Log. I'm Mitch Houlahan. This is player number 10 in your program, and the captain, Kyle Bekker.
Hello, everyone.
We're going to be coming at you every week, talking CPL, talking nonsense, bringing on guests. Today, we're going to be joined by David Edgar, current assistant coach.
The one and only.
Canadian legend.
Yeah, I think
For
we're
a chat.
decent little first guest for us, I think.
Yeah.
Not bad. I think he's a man of wisdom. He's got a lot to say. Great career.
It's fitting. It's halfway through the season now. Just had the Vancouver game that was halfway mark, which was a good win. But
win.
Yeah, that we're gonna be talking big moments, talking transitions with Eddie, and that'll be good. So he'll be coming up in a bit. But I guess I should explain my purpose here. We've been together our entire lives, so I've kind of seen we've been there for each other's careers and lives, and I think more than anything, this is like a way for the fans to get to know you.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
the captain's log. So
I think it's
I
only
can
fitting
shed
that
some light on some of that.
I think it's only fitting that we're doing this together and not doing it with someone else or doing it by myself. So it's good. No, I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So we'll hit a couple topics, then we'll bring in a guest, and we'll see how it goes. Back to Vancouver for a bit. That was a few days ago. Thoughts?
It was warm. It was a soupy game.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was hot. I think it was like right before kickoff. It was like 39, 40 degrees or something on the field. Naturally, these refs didn't give the kids a water break. Typical. But no, it was a big one, man. I think going into this second half of the season, it's been an interesting one for the old Forgers.
How did you rate the first half of the season?
No, we it's crazy because we had the best start that we've had as a club. But a lot of those games that were ties, I think we all felt that this should have been wins. So I think it could have been an even more dominant first 7 games that we had. I think we had like 3 wins, 4 ties. But we were still undefeated. And then we kind of just fell off. But it's funny. I think when we were sitting in this room, I don't want to say we were hitting the panic button. I think there was just general frustration. There's just been a core that's been here since day one. Obviously, you have the coaching staff that's been here since day one. And we've just had so much success. I think it's only natural that you hit a point where I think maybe guys felt a little burnt out, felt a little frustration why things weren't kind of going in the way they were in times past. But when we look at, I think I want to say like 10 games in or something, when we were kind of in the middle of that rut where we were struggling, couldn't really get a win, couldn't really find the back of the net. We were comparing it to last year, and I think we were like a handful of goals off and 1 point different. And obviously we know how last season ended, so I think that was reassuring. But that stretch went on a little longer, a little longer than the boys would have liked.
Couple of those away trips.
Yeah, sticky. A couple sad flights home.
Skids. Couple captain's logs. Did you watch the highlights of Vancouver?
Yeah.
Did you see what you did after the goal?
Oh, yeah. I need to know who that. I've never seen that photographer around the field.
Is he a photographer?
I think he was
a ball boy.
No, I think it was a photographer.
He literally did the Happy Gilmore, like, celebrate. He just, like, grabbed his hand. He went for, like, a high five, and you just grabbed him and shook him.
But did you see me kick the board?
No.
So that was the thing. That's why I wanted to give him I wanted to give him a hug. But, so, like,
Yeah,
I was flying, obviously, at 40 kilometers an hour because I'm super fast, and I'm looking across the whole time, and then the ball goes in the back of the net, and I realize I'm like right at the thing, and I just smashed. Like I kicked it out of just like frustration, whatever it might have been, happiness. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I realized that like I legitimately kicked him essentially, and then he puts his hands up. I was just like slap hands. So no, if we get Zach on the case, cameraman, I'm sure you know who it is, or maybe someone around the building. So I'd like to meet the guy.
Yeah. I caught the highlights. I wasn't at the game. The lads weren't at the game.
Mm-hmm.
We had a wedding to go to. I think that's a good segue. Really, the purpose why I'm here, I can shed some light. It actually came up too at the wedding, like during the Vancouver game, about your wedding and like the madness of the schedule.
Oh yeah,
Like,
there was a lot of moving pieces.
and I don't think we even really talked. Like, but that was what was that, third season?
Yeah, that was last year.
Before-
No, 2021. Sorry, Jesus.
Yeah,
Third season.
Yeah. So I thought you could talk about that a little bit. This is a little bit of the, what you can
What
hear.
the people want.
What the people want to hear about the captain. But that was wild.
Yeah, it was unfortunate.
The,
It was
all the happenings around the timing and like the tie cats and the like.
Yeah. So
this came up on Friday.
obviously it was like coming out of COVID. It was supposed to be the year before, and then the year before. And then,
The wedding.
Yeah. So then COVID pushed that out, and then we picked a date early in the season, just being like, the season will be done by then. And then obviously just with more delays and like starting the season in the bubble and just the way it worked out, we started to realize pretty quickly it was like, oh no, we're still going to be playing during this date. And it was like, what are we going to do? And then it was all about, if we finish in a certain spot, we'll get a home game and everything will be fine. But if we didn't clinch and get home field advantage, either I wasn't playing in the final or I wasn't getting married.
Right.
And then
Because it could have been. There
Well,
was a time
and
it could have
yeah.
been on the same day.
Yeah.
Or it could have been in Hamilton, or it could have been in Calgary.
No, Pacific.
All right, Pacific.
Yeah. Sorry, Calgary. Yeah, you're right. It could have been in Calgary, but then we saw it out and we got home field advantage. I think everything was fine.
Yeah.
And I think we knew it was going to be fine. Like, as long as we kept winning, if we played the final, but there was a chance with the tie cats, it would have been a same day ordeal. And then it ended up being a week out because I think I don't know the exact details. I'm forgetting them right now, but I think what ended up happening is ended up being the weekend after. But the caveat to it is we were still in CONCACAF. So
That
we
was
were like,
the season he played.
like the whole
like
thing
a
was
million games.
So
yeah.
literally we got married and the next day flew to Honduras.
Oh yeah, you left for the CONCACAF. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I just
And
remember
then
like
we came back and played in the final.
yeah.
So like we went to Honduras, played in the quarters of the semis, whatever it was of the CONCACAF, and then flew back home 3 days later, played in the final against Pacific.
Yeah, because we were all that's.
It was wild.
Remember all the like meetings? It's like everyone just obviously just be asking you like, "Oh, what's going on?
Well,
like, is the wedding happening?" You're just like having meetings with Bobby. It's just like,
Yeah.
what's happening here?
Well, it was more so Costa.
You guys were trying to shift the league
Yeah.
around your wedding.
Costa literally, he like pulled me in the office and he's like, "So, do we need to go speak to the venue?" I'm like, "Guy, like the deposit's been paid. Like, what are you talking about?" Like, this, and he's like, "What? Like you're playing?" And I was like, "Have a conversation with Kat. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not. If I'm not, or if I am playing and not getting married, I'm not telling Kat. You can tell her that."
Yeah.
And no,
Costa stepped in as wedding planner.
yeah, he's like,
Manager.
well, like classic player. She's like, "No, we can figure this out." And I was just like, I was like,
Yeah, it'll work out.
It
It'll
literally,
work
it
out.
just that
Everyone's
was the message, and
chanting.
everyone just kept saying it'll work itself out, and then going home every single day being like, "So what are we doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" It's
Yeah.
like, it'll work itself out. But yeah,
That was good.
good times.
But yeah, so the wedding, it was a big moment. Big week this week as well for your guy, Ashton. Retired.
Crazy. Obviously,
Give us a how was he? How was he the day of? How'd it go?
the game, his last game.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, Ash, he was playing it real cool. I think it's something that, I mean, I was lucky enough to be brought into the conversation when he started thinking about the idea. I appreciate that. I think it just speaks to the careers that we've had together and the relationship we have that he trusted me with that. But he started thinking about it. It was obviously not something I think he took lightly. I think it's a huge decision, but he's been playing for 13, 14 seasons. I think it's not an easy one to just up and go, but he said it, and it's something we'll speak with Eddie about, who's gone through this similar transition a few years down the line. But he said it in his press conference. It was it's a decision that I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. It's his way, and I think it was right for him and what's next in his career. So I think it's someone we'll miss around the locker room for sure. Guy who's done a ton for the game in Canada, had an unbelievable career, great guy, had a huge impact on the young guys in our locker room, and someone we'll miss for the rest of the year. But I think everyone who's put on this jersey will be happy for the times that we've shared together.
It's a Canadian legend. Another Canadian legend.
It's crazy. And us here at Forge have been lucky to have a few of them walk through the doors. So I think it's a special moment. I think it's a career that he should be very proud of. I know he had a bunch of family and friends in the stands, and he was saying he couldn't really look up to him when he was getting subbed on. And to just be able to kind of share that moment, walking off, giving him the armband, I think that was pretty cool. And so I was happy to play a very, very small role in that last game for him.
Yeah. No, that was a cool moment for sure. Did you happen to see KJ's interview with him after?
I did. I just seen him on the field, and I saw him kind of when he was hitting the anvil 3 times, which was a cool little moment.
Yeah.
I just seen him start to get choked up. So I don't know if he had the interview before or after that, if that got him going, or if it was the moment that got him going. But no, I actually haven't seen that.
It was just one of those seemed like a fitting and just great kind of last. It was, and big props to KJ too. Watch it because it was a great interview.
I saw KJ.
When have you ever seen
KJ
a
had no idea.
post-game interview that's good?
Yeah.
From the athlete, not but it was perfect. It was great, and KJ knew. Yeah, it hadn't been announced fully or anything. But KJ
he didn't know until the moment.
so he was
saw him.
just told.
Yeah.
Killed it. Watch it.
And
It was awesome.
and I don't know if KJ's at every single game, but it's so perfect that KJ of all people was the one to be able to do that.
Yeah, no,
So
that
that's
was cool. And Ashton, yeah, no, he was. It was just a great back and forth.
Love that.
Pretty cool moment. Just it was all right there, and I guess a little impromptu. It was great, but
That's magical.
yeah, big career.
It's huge.
We never played together, but I went to Lynx a minute after he left. Went to TFC Academy before that.
Yeah.
So
He was a Lynx legend too. That's where when we were growing up, that's where I played with him for the first time. And then obviously being a 91, in those first few years of the provincial team, when I was kind of doing that, we the paths crossed, and then just the TFC locker room in and out.
yeah,
Unreal.
Ash was a nasty player back in the day.
I mean, he still is, guy. Yeah, he didn't lose that to the very end. Let me tell you,
you know what I mean.
he knows how to. Oh
Yeah.
no, he was unreal growing
was
up,
the
dude.
guy
He
back
was
then.
that was a big player, big prospect.
So yeah, big week for Forge halfway through the season. Ashton's retirement is a big story. Pretty cool scenes at the game. Nice that you got the win too.
Dude, there was a moment there where we were bending. It was, I don't know. For whatever reason, I think we've dominated such large portions of the game when we're playing at home this season. But for whatever reason, we just can't score. And as it was going on, and I spoke about the heat, and I know it's hot for both teams, but it was just what are we doing here? And then seemingly everyone chucked in the towel, and G just stepped up and made some massive saves for us.
Big face save.
It was just what are we doing? And literally, I think me and him, someone went down on the sideline, and he came out of the box, and he was just cussing out everyone. And it was we needed it. And we just looked at each other and was what is happening? And then somehow we just kind of turned it on, and we had a huge 5 minutes that just saw the game out, really.
All right, well, on to the second half of the season, which will, hopefully be better than the first. And now, I think after that, on to the second part of the podcast, which will hopefully be better than the first.
Yeah, I mean, we got a big guest, as we said, coming up. So without further ado, we'll get to that.
All right, now the first guest of the pod, Canadian legend, Forge legend, current Forge assistant coach, David Edgar. Eddie.
Welcome.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks for being a part of this, man.
No, my pleasure.
This is a big one.
This is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, one and done. Got the first best guest ever. That's all she wrote.
How you doing?
I'm good. We'll see about the best guest ever, but I'm delighted to be here, guys. Thank you.
So I told you I had a couple topics I wanted to get into with you that I'm interested in for sure. I was thinking about this too. I've always known you to be a footballer, like growing up, we knew that you were in England playing, but now really all I get stories from Kyle of like, there's stories from you or like you as a guy. So like, I know you much less as a footballer than just you as a guy, and funny stories. So one real close connect that I wanted to bring up, something that we talked about before, the magazine, it's called Football.
Yeah.
That you were interviewed, and there was a little spot on you back in the day. It says in the article that you reached out to the editor when you saw it in Kitchener, right?
Yeah, Bud
so
Park.
A story and a part of that you might not know is that you were actually the first person to ever do that. You're the first person to reach out to this magazine, like as what, 12, 13 years old?
Yeah, probably a little bit younger maybe.
So my first soccer question, my first, your career, and I want to get to the stuff you're up to now more so than this, but like, when did you get that? How did you know you had that? Like, why did you do that? I guess that's what I like.
Yeah.
You're here. You've had a huge, crazy career. Like, but at that age, like, why did you do that? Why were you the first kid to do that?
I don't know. I asked my dad a lot about my childhood and what it was like now that I'm sort of interested in why did I do that? My daughter actually, funny enough, did something recently where she contacted a local play, like a theater thing, and she that night sent an email. She's 10 years old. Sent an email, got an audition, produced a monologue, went and did the audition, and now she's in a play for the next. She's in a Hufflepuffs. She's in Alice in Wonderland. And honestly, out of everything, if a father, like, it was the proudest I've ever been, because that stuff is the maturity levels it takes to do that. At 10 years old, I didn't know it was mature. I just knew it was like, I see this magazine. I've never seen a magazine like this. All I care about is this game. I'm gonna see who writes this. I'm gonna email them. I think it was a handwritten letter, actually.
Yeah.
My dad helped me do it, and I think it comes from a lot of parenting too, because my parents gave me the freedom to do those things. They'll help me along the ways, but they're not gonna say, oh, you need to email him or whatnot. And I wasn't asking to be on his thing or anything like that. It was just, listen, I saw a story about Julian and Jonathan de Guzman. There was a kid in Jonathan that was my age. And it was like, that was the moment. It was like, okay, I need to be doing something. I need to be gone now. I need to be going somewhere. He was at Feyenoord. His older brother was there. And in honesty, I don't think I ever told anyone this, but I cut that article out and put it above my bed. I mean, it was surrounded by David Beckham pictures, but it was there, right? I had my Canadian wall, my David Beckham wall. But it was just to pretty much say to him, thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for writing this article. I don't think he believed me because my name was David Edgar and he thought someone was taking the piss. It was Edgar Davids, but he got in touch. Next thing you know, he's not going to be talking to a 10-year-old, so he spoke to my dad, and he came down. And he took an interest in my career. And I remember we spoke a couple times throughout my career, but he was a great man, and I know you're in touch with him still.
Yeah, for sure, legend. Actually, I mean, you just brought up what started that whole thing, the de Guzmans. But we were talking before about this was a big week. Our guy Ash retired from football. This was kind of the bigger theme of the the chats today too. It's just those kind of big decisions. Yeah. Back to what you said, like, for whatever reason, you're obsessed with football, and you knew you were gonna make it. It took you a long way in football, but obviously along the way there's like big decisions.
Can I stop
moments.
you there?
Yeah.
I didn't know I was gonna make it. Like, you don't know.
Right.
There was something inside of me that said, like, I've got to go for this. Like, this is my dream, and I think it's going. I mean, everyone should do that. I think everyone should pursue that.
Was there a moment that sticks out to you in your childhood where you're like, I have this? Like, it was just so real where you're like, I have to go. I'm putting everything into this.
Yeah. There was two moments. Playing football here, I just knew I had to, and it wasn't a cockiness or anything, but I was the best player around here, and for me, it was ticking boxes. I had to do this. I had to play at a certain level here, but I compared myself to people over there, right? At 10 years old, I got to go to my grandfather's retirement. I believe it was, my grandfather's retirement, and he took me, my dad, and my uncle. We got tickets to watch Coventry against Newcastle, St. James's Park, the old St. James's. So standing room only with the bars like that you lean on, right?
Yeah.
We got those tickets behind the liaises end, which I scored at that end. But look, I got shivers now because I'm 10 years old and I'm watching the game at then, and it's a moment where my dad's holding on to me, and it's everything you hear about in the movies, right? And this guy next to me gets chatting to my dad and says, listen, if it's, bearing in mind it's Boxing Day in Newcastle, freezing. And he says, if we were losing 3-0 or 3-1 to Coventry City, and he said, if Newcastle wins, I'll give you my strip. He only had a t-shirt on. Peter Beardsley scored a hat-trick, and we won 4-3, and this guy gave me his top, and I'll never forget it. He walked home with his shirt on, and I'm on my dad's shoulders, and I've got his blue Newcastle top on. I still have it to this day.
That is unbelievable.
And I got to go into the players' lounge after. I met my heroes, Lee Clark, Peter Beardsley, Andy Cole. I've got a picture of me and Lee Clark that day, and it turns out 10 years later, Lee Clark was my reserve team manager. I played with him.
That's unbelievable.
You can't make this up, right? So that was one of the moments. And then the other one, was when I actually went at the age of between grade 8 and grade 9, when it was between hockey and soccer. Yeah. And I spent the 6 weeks in Newcastle, Middlesbrough, Sunderland, actually up in Scotland, training at a few clubs, and that was it. I was never picking up a stick after that.
That's funny. We've actually spoke about this before, but you've claimed to be quite a decent hockey player in your youth growing up. And I mean, Lee, my brother, he's claimed similar things in the past, and then we've seen him take a couple slap shots, and I don't think it really held the test of time. So what was a big thing for you when you were choosing between the two that made the decision so easy? Love,
passion. I played hockey. I don't know whether it was because I was Canadian, but I was in a British household. I grew up in a British household, very British. Football on 7 o'clock. You're from a Dutch background. You watch the same games, right? But hockey, my dad didn't learn how to skate. My dad and uncle didn't learn how to skate till they were about 35, 40 when they moved over here. Didn't know anything about the game. We didn't watch it. I picked up a stick and I was good at it. Yeah. And I was probably better at it than soccer. But there was no, I knew at a young age there was something missing in here about it. When I had a ball at my feet, it was completely different. It was flow from a young age.
And you were actually proper, possible draft, OHL draft conversation. You could actually play.
It was my draft year, my O draft year, going grade 8 to grade 9. So that season, actually, I was at my nanny's house in Newcastle, and the AAA coach from Kitchener called my grandmother's house to see if I was going to play, that he was going to keep a spot open for me, because he heard that I was in England, and he heard that I was going to, there'd been whispers of if I stay or not. And he found out, and he got a hold of my grandmother, and at that moment, I said no. So that was my hockey career. When I was in England, and I was mature enough to go, listen, I thank you for reaching out to me, but this is my path.
So that's, I think that your dad is and your parents are more so him. I mean, it's a lot of the opportunities, man. Right? Your dad played in Newcastle, There's some things that he could tell you that a lot of people couldn't, but to me, he's lucky that you were as passionate about soccer as you were, because it's not and I'm wondering too, now as you're coaching more, I mean, you talk about your daughter doing that reach out, that's sick, just seeing her do something and want to do something that, but what I'm saying is it was easy because you were so obsessed with football. But what do you say to everyone and all the kids? What do you see now when it's what would your dad have done if you did want to go hockey?
He would have been there with a puck,
right,
and a stick. He gave me the freedom to choose. He gave me the freedom to see what I wanted to do. But listen, my dad would have been there at any pitch, at any field, to help me. But it was on me. Yeah. It was on me to go, hey, Dad, let's go kick a ball around. He was never going to say, let's go, you got to train, you got to do this. Never was that discussed. It was all on me, but he would be there if I needed him.
How many players do you think, and people that had that? I recognize it in you guys. I saw obviously this guy playing growing up. It was this is it, I'm doing it. But right now, as you're coaching, I think there's a different passion in some people, right? and that took you a long way. And it's not, I'm sure growing up too, it wasn't like fully 100% there all the time. Like, you're always doubting yourself.
Because it worked out, right?
Even 20 years in the game, and like, you had a great career, but I don't know. I like how to keep going that whole time.
I think I'll say something, and you now on the other side, let me know what you think about this. It's interesting. Like, you look at that time period, and you look at young David Edgar looking in this magazine. You're seeing Julian, Jonathan de Guzman, players from young Canadians who've made that jump that to so many people seemed ridiculous.
Impossible.
And then you find out there's 10, 15 players in Europe. And we've spoke about this before. You found out who they were, and you're like, all right, I'm going to emulate these. I'm going to be these guys. I'm going to be better than them, whatever it may be. Fast forward to where we are now in the CPL, in Canada as a whole, as a collective. There's X amount of doors open to the professional game. We're 5 years young as a league. I think we're in a little bit of this moment where to jumpstart a league, there's a bunch of people who got a chance late in their career that maybe they don't want to admit it. I don't know. A year or two before 2019, they probably weren't even really playing. They didn't know this was a reality. They jumped at the chance, and fair play to them. If I'm in that position, I'm doing the exact same thing. But I think we're in this weird transition where if we can get another 5 years down the road, you're going to see kids who are 12, 13, who've been coming to games in their own backyard, and they're going to be like, no, I want this. I'm going to start here. I'm going to leapfrog it. I can see the transition. I can see the reality of being a professional soccer player in our own backyard. I'm going to make a name for myself here, and then I'm going to go on to bigger and better things, whatever that may be. So I think we're in this funky period where you see there might be frustration. I don't know what it is, frustration, or you think we should be further ahead than we are. But the crazy thing about this game's hundreds of years old everywhere else in the world. So we've been seeing it. Like, people who love this game have been playing it their lives. You turn on the TV every single weekend. Obviously now it's way more accessible than it was when we were kids, but you turn it on, you see games all the time, and you're like, this is what the final product's supposed to look like. It's easier said than done. But I think we're just something that we say all the time talking to each other. We're just sweeping the sheds right now. We're doing the hard yards. We're doing this, and it's so important. It's vital, but this stuff takes time. Like, I think even for the people working on the business side of things, like, every single weekend you show up and you're like, why isn't there more people coming into these games? Why aren't people buying in? Like, look at this product that we're giving. This is beautiful. This is fantastic. We have it. Like, just buy into it. But it takes time. It takes years. It takes these experiences that you have to live together and feel them. Like, the great nights that we've had here at Tim Hortons Field are unbelievable, and they might pay dividends 10 years down the road. But, like, we're still in it right now. We just got to keep going.
And I think on that, the hardest part of, I mean, you discussed it quite a bit, but 10 years time, how do you tell a player here who is 19, whatever, that he needs to do the work now, the hard yards now, because in 10 years you've played a part in this, right? And them accepting that at the age of 19, it's difficult, because at 19, would I have done, right? And there's a saying, like a Zen saying, is saying, a little by little, a little goes a lot. And I think daily, if everyone in this league is doing that, you see the benefits of it, right? We've been through tough times. We've been through COVID. We've done those things. We've come out the other side of it, right? Like, it's
crazy.
Right? So,
I think in sports you hear all the time, oh, just 1% each day.
Yeah, but
it's so easy.
Yeah.
But it's the thing. But that's it. Like, that is the solution right there.
But not being going, well, I just did this. Where's the benefits? Where's my benefits? Where's the stuff? I just worked hard.
Yeah.
I should be getting benefits. No, you got to do it again tomorrow, the next day. And I think that's, people see the end product. People see me scoring against Newcastle United. People don't see me running to Bud Park at lunch, my lunch recess in grade 6, in grade 7, in grade 8. They don't see that. That's the hard yards, right?
It's the ugly stuff.
And that's the stuff we're all doing here to build this thing.
It's funny going into almost like perspective. And I think the hardest thing to have as a player is perspective. And we can use a guy on our team, a young player, Noah Jensen, in last year. And he's coming into his first year as a pro. And I'm not sure exactly how many games he played, but I think if you fast forward a year into his career and you said, listen, you're coming into you're gonna play X amount of games, which is a lot for a kid in his first year, especially breaking into a tough midfield, which is what we have. And you're gonna start in the final and you're gonna win a trophy in your first season. I guarantee you, every single player, when they sign their first contract, they say, yeah, I'll take that.
Snatch your hand off.
But when you're in the 5th, 6th month of that season and you haven't played in the last month or month and a half,
and you're doing all the right things daily,
and you're just sitting there and you're just cussing out the coach every single week, knocking on his door. He's giving you the same nonsense reason of why you're not playing. And how do you show up on a Thursday and still perform like a pro? But that's the difference. That makes the world of difference in this game at any single level, because that's something that I've struggled with in my career.
Yeah.
I think a big thing in this country too is because everything's so new, you go up, and a lot of times you're growing up, you're the best player on your team. And then you finally break into that professional environment, and it's like, no, now this is a job. There's people here putting food on their table this way. There's people here who have bigger aspirations, and everyone was the best player on their team. So what are you gonna do on that Wednesday in August to prove that you belong here? And that's the hardest stuff in the world, man. That's crazy.
What do you looking back in your career now, because you're a couple years out, what do you think about it differently than you did when you were doing it?
No, nothing. Yeah, you sit here and say hindsight. Hindsight, I should have stayed in a couple weekends. But really, what I was 19, 20, and that's what I was presented with. That was my level of maturity, or my level of knowledge I had at the time. And I think the important part to me is me finding my purpose now is I got to tell these 19-year-olds that goes quick. So maybe stay in, maybe look after yourself a little bit. Maybe do a bit of extra work. I can't tell you to do it. And I think you'll notice my coach, I don't know if it's a coaching style or it's an openness to go, I'm here for you guys, whatever you need, and then use me. But again, sorry, I guess it's like my dad. I'm here for you if you need me. But this has to be self-driven.
Yeah. I think when you say it now, it kind of just jumps out, and we speak about it all the time. I think a classic thing players get into after training, whether if you've been that 18, 19, 20 on a roster, you're just a little frustrated, and it's so easy to just get caught up in, I'm going to go over here and just mess around after training. But 5 minutes a day doing a thoughtful exercise for your position, even just to the coach is in the corner of his eye being like, oh, look at this kid. He's doing something. But again, if you were to grab whoever it may be on the team and pull that player and be like, oh, you're doing this, I think 9 times out of 10 that lasts a month. And the second you don't grab him, he doesn't show 100%. Up. But for you to be there, and the second a player comes to get you, and you're right there with him, I'll do this. That goes the longest way, because that's a person building an unbelievable habit at a young age, and you're supporting it, which is huge as a coach. And I think it's difficult. It's hard. I think that comes down to the culture and the environment. And I think you need to be surrounded by that. I think you need to see older players doing it and be have the wherewithal to be okay, if he's doing it, I need to be doing something.
You have to.
But again, that comes down to the individual. How many times when you speak of yourself being 18, 19, breaking into that first team locker room, and the players that you rattle off on that Newcastle team are just an absolute joke. I'm sure there's people in this country right now who see Newcastle now but don't remember what Newcastle was and how special that group was. But in the entertainers, and it was a little bit before that time. But you walk into a locker room, if you see a guy like Shearer, a guy like Michael Owen, or some of the midfielders you had, Nobby Solano on that team, if they're doing something after, why isn't David Edgar from Canada doing something from after? It's, I don't know, it's such a funny thing.
And that's where that's why I give the guys here a bit of leeway, because they didn't have that grounding, that education that I had of seeing that. It wasn't a thought of I might do some extra. It was everyone did extras, because the session was almost for the coach. It's for the game. It's geared towards the game. The individual stuff, you're not going to learn how to receive a ball on your back foot, take 100 balls in a training session, but you might do it by yourself after if you take a coach and say, give me 100 balls. That's what we did. And I learned that, but I learned that by watching, reading, okay, how does he work? How does he work? He's in my position, right? And there's no right or wrong way to do it. And again, in hindsight, it's easy for us to sit here and go, do all the right things. And I don't want to be a coach that says, do all the right things because I did, because I didn't, right? And you didn't. But you are now, and you know the difference.
It's unbelievable.
So I had maybe 1 or 2 players or a coach in my life who said, maybe you should do this or you should look into this. Other than that, as soon as you get into first team level, at a professional level, you're on your own. You're on your own. You figure out the tactics, you figure out your life, you figure out the outside of your life. Now people can't even fart without someone doing it for them, right? At a club level. But and people booking taxis that wasn't what we had. And I'm massively grateful that I got to go through that, because you have to learn. Right?
Just that independence. I think you also learn some harsh lessons in that. And I think I mean, you've obviously played some massive games, but I think we want to fast forward to a tough time. I think a time that is, I think will jump out to a lot of players. They'll face it at any different level they play at, but I think it's a moment that is maybe not spoken about enough.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you about your time at Burnley. You're there for, was it 9 seasons?
9 years, yeah.
9 years. That final year, you have an unbelievable group. You guys win promotion to the Premier League, and then you get released. What's going through your mind in that time? How do you cope with that? What's it look like after the fact? And now when you look back on it, how do you feel about the whole experience? I would say.
I would say there's top 3 worst days of my life, easily. But have I ever mentioned it in a negative way to you? Because I talk about that being the best year of my life. That stage 5, we talk about it being part of something bigger than ourselves, the group, the team, the club. It was bigger than me. It was bigger than me and how many games I played. It was bigger than if you were going to start or you were going to play and come on and score. It was way bigger than that. You could feel it, right? Like I'm getting shivers now talking about it because I think every human being should be part of something like that. But being told not necessarily, well, yeah, you're essentially being told you're not good enough, right? You're not good enough to go to that next level that I'd already been at, right? So had I not done enough, then those things start coming in. But this is a group of, like Sean Dyche, we're literally the 3, and the assistant coach, we're in tears, the 3 of us. So I'm thinking to myself now, you know what, I'm more proud that man respected me to have the conversation with me as a human being, not a footballer, than to just be told or by text. You hear those stories, you know what I mean? Like I must have done something right as a person in that dressing room. Never mind a footballer, that comes and goes. Yeah. You're always, but biggest thing for me, I think after I retired is nobody talked about how good of a player I was really. People talked about like, oh, this guy, Eddie, great guy. He's a good guy, right? Probably some people say he's an asshole, but it is what it is. And right?
Do you find those comments mean more to you as you get older?
Yeah, now especially.
I mean, it's true. I've been lucky enough to share a locker room with you. Absolute baller, but just an unbelievable guy.
Locker room guy. I mean, that's what I've always heard from you too. This is like what I said. The stories of Eddie and the stories that you have. Like, I mean, I'm sure you could tell some other stories of Daichi that are great too. I've heard a couple from you too. Incredible. But and like after 9 seasons at Burnley too, like, and that was the first time you were ever without a contract.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like that, that Kitchener start pushing to like make it, you make it. Everything's like this, like up until that.
Yeah, because I chose to leave Newcastle. That's the thing. I chose to leave and go to Burnley because of what was going on after we got relegated, right? So I never got released from Newcastle. I got released from Burnley. Yeah. Right. So, but yeah,
right after promotion.
Yeah, but yeah. So I've got no contract. I've just been promoted to the Premier League with the team. Right. Had the best year of my life. Got promoted. Got released 2 days after. Then fly home. I go to get married. Abroad, we got married in Jamaica, so I'm dealing with all of that. I'm literally, the day of my wedding, I've got an agent texting me saying we've got a contract here, or like there's things, and I'm like, what is going on right now? I go to the wedding, come back, then next thing you know, I'm home for maybe a day. I'm on a flight to Birmingham, and it was like, here we go, I'm in Birmingham. Yeah. I didn't want to be in Birmingham, right? And that's no disrespect to Birmingham City. That's what happens. And at that point in my life, I'm 21. No, I'm not. I'm 20. Sorry, I'm 26, right? But you're thinking, what do I do now? I'm 7, right?
Yeah.
And nobody prepared me nobody prepared me how to get over that day. Just the news, right? Yeah. I'm prepared now, but then I wasn't.
That day's tough.
Yeah.
That first call is crazy.
Well, you know what it's like in football and in sports. I think nowadays it's a lot less likely, but you found a family here. From not just the players, but the staff, the people here. Like, it's a family, right? You don't get that very often in sports. You're maybe there a year or 2 years, but to spend an extended period, to spend 9 years at a club, right?
Lucky.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I knew the dinner lady, like the girl who made our dinners, like our lunches, and gave our tea, Daisy. Like, the relationship I had with her. That's what people don't understand, right?
That's the crazy stuff, because that stuff's so special.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like making a point to say hi to the security guard every single day you walk in.
Every day.
And it's so easy to just walk past them, or even go out of your way to avoid a thing because you're young and immature, and you just go through the side door because you can, because you have the key access to do it. But like, you make an impression on someone
100%.
because you know the older you get. And again, we've used this so many times, and it's a phrase that you've told me, but it's football. It's just ships passing in the night. And we've been lucky enough to be friends and play together, which is, again, is another thing that so many times you take for granted, because you can be on a team for a split second, then all of a sudden you're somewhere else and you're playing with a whole group of guys that you probably just don't even care about. Yeah. And then you got to, okay, here we go again. I got to buy into this group. Otherwise, I'm gone.
Yeah, Birmingham was the exact same thing. Bear in mind, I got Player of the Month the first 2 months of the season. Player of the Month, right? At Birmingham City. And I didn't want to be there. And I wasn't, and I was, at this point, I was living in a hotel, still driving back to Manchester to see my wife and kid. And then going back on and when I had a day off, and driving back down 2.5 hours to train. So I hadn't committed to the move. Yeah. Right, so you're doing all of that, but playing football. My only freedom was 2 hours on the field. And freedom from here.
Yeah. And then the mind just starts going.
And then you're back to, what do I do now? I gotta hop in the car and find a place to live. Like,
dude, I think it's wild.
I mean, it's the side of sports that people don't see.
No.
That's like, I like this chat that we always have too. And like, you know, that disappointment of leaving Burnley, now that you're outside of football, you're working, you know, you're in the workforce. You're a contributing member of society in a different way for the first time. Like, those experiences that athletes have and the team dynamic and those like lessons, I think like we talk often of the athlete and the skills that they get and the lessons that they've learned that they can transfer into other things, which is like stuff that you don't get, like high pressure, high things that, you know, happen to you. Like now that you're just into your next stage, you know, like you've been coaching for a couple of years, like how are you bringing that to what you're doing?
So as that moment was happening, there's a little piece of me, or maybe the next day, knowing that eventually, because I knew then that I wanted to be a manager, I'm gonna have to do that to someone, and I'm gonna have to do that to someone like that I like. So it's not I'm taking my lessons that I learned from how they handled the conversation, right? How do I take that into when I'm going to have that tough conversation with people? Because I guarantee you, when Sean Dyche left that room, he might have thought about it for an hour or so, but he's got too much on his mind to care about David Edgar. Yeah. David Edgar cares about David Edgar and what's going on, and you care about, like, you're the center of your universe. But the game moves on. The game's always going to move on, and it's going to move on real quick. Yeah, real quick.
Yeah,
and it's interesting, because I think if you told that to a young player, that feels so harsh. Yeah. I think, well, even just anyone. Yeah. It's the fact that you're expendable.
Yeah.
I think that's difficult, especially when you're playing sports where you have to give in so much emotionally, physically, mentally, everything, that I think that can feel very just shitty at the end of the day. But that little thing that you're speaking now about Daishi taking the time, where you're speaking on a human level, that sticks with you. It goes a long way. Yeah. And I'm
going to remember that more than our 4-4-2 on a Thursday.
100%. And it just means so much. And I think that brings us into this next, I guess the next thing we want to talk about. Obviously, we've said at the beginning, it's been a big week here. Yeah. We lost Ashtone Morgan, who retired. But through that whole process, it's funny, because Forge FC and yourself and your time here as a player, we were lucky enough to retire a Canadian legend in yourself. And going through that process as a young club, I think, looking back, I look at it as a captain at that time, which to me is, I think, was something that I struggled with at the very beginning. When you signed up, we got you on board, you signed a contract, and it was like, how am I going to be a captain when this guy's in a room? Like, how does that work? But just your experience, who you are as a person, our friendship, like, you helped me so much. And then we go through that process of you retiring, and it was like, did we drop the ball a little bit? But you see those moments, and it's like, okay, this is how we handled that situation. Let's do this one better.
It's gonna learn.
And but that's just it. Yeah. And then you do it, and you have such an impact. And I think Ash has a moment that I think hopefully he looks back on forever and is proud of, because he's come here for a year and a half. He had success. He was fantastic with us. I think he had a huge impact on the group. Yeah. But when you're going through that process and you've made that decision to retire, what does it look like for you from the last day to the next day, to even a month out the road? Because I know you said you always knew you were going to be a coach, but how did you handle that transition from playing, coming into the locker room every single day, to all of a sudden you're no longer a player?
Yeah, wow. We talked about that too. You were around for most of it, but Ash made a great point the other day. He said it in his interview. There's no right or wrong way to do this, just your way. And I guarantee someone gave him that line because it's not his. But it hit me, when he said it. Well, you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah. So I don't ever compare my retirement to someone else's or anything like that. I decided to go because it's the right moment for me, right? And there'll be not a day in my life for the rest of my life that I don't wish I was still a professional soccer player. That's just it. There's no getting around that, right? So, yeah, shivers. But like I say, you are learning from these things, right? I retired in COVID. Everything was crazy. Nobody knew what was going on, right? And it was a moment where I've just kind of stepped aside. The next day, and I had this moment on Tuesday. What was it? Tuesday, walking in. Yeah. So Ash's last day was Monday. Tuesday coming in, and normal service resumed. I walk in. I'm here at the same time. You're here. Everyone's here. Training's going on. Music's on. Not one person was thinking about Ashtone Morgan, and I say that in the most respectful way, because the game moves on. Right. So Ashtone Morgan will be at home, and it'll be a difficult day for him, but we still have to train, and we've got a game on Friday. And that's what I think I found the hardest, and you know it because I was blowing your phone up. Yeah. Going, what's preseason like? Right? Yeah. What you guys training today? Like, because I was at home, and I'm going on to my next business venture with my business partner, and it's like I'm sat in front of a laptop. That's not me, right? Like, and then it's wearing me down. Like, okay, what's happening? How the boys are at training? Okay, I know what's going to be happening now. Beep test today, or right? It's first week of preseason. I used to love that, right? You come in, it was hard work, but you just knew it was in 6 months that running you're going to do is going to pay dividends, right? And that's the little by little, right? But I didn't have that. I didn't have an outlet. I had the business side of it, but it was just, for me, it was just a Band-Aid at the time until I got back in the building. When I got back in the building, it was like, okay. And then it's like, okay, find out who you are as a coach now. Where do you fit in this staff? Where do you fit in with the boys? Right. So, and that's been a journey in itself.
When you've started out this process, do you find that you're attacking this whole journey of you being a coach, find out who you want to be as a coach, how it wants to look, similar to how you were as a young player, or do you have a totally different approach now that you're, one, more mature, and just two, it is a little different just being on the coaching side of things? It's
a great question. Because I've said that. I said that from the week I retired, and I had that sting of like, I'm moving on to the next phase of my career the way David Edgar at 10 years old wanted to be a professional. I'm putting the same energy, and I am doing it. I'm driving here, we're doing all the things we're doing. You're putting in the hard yards, it's just different. Right? I'm not running to Bud Park, I'm not doing those things. I'm putting it in a different way. I'm going home, I'm learning, I'm soaking in information. It's everything. But yeah.
So I guess I think the thing I was getting at is something we've spoken about too as players, is you often see that guy who's playing in front of you and you're like, I'm taking this guy out. Like, that's my target, I'm taking him out. From me, just looking at you just from a distance and obviously having the chance to work with you as a coach, I think there's a more mindful approach to it, where I think it's crazy to me because you're a set piece guy, you're a third assistant coach, but the way, like, your attitude in it and the way you show up every single day. I think there's a lot of people who would have chucked in the towel by now and gone away from it. But I think it just shows, it's a testament to who you are and what you're trying to achieve. But it's like, I think you're seeing so far down the line that, like, you're showing up every single day to do set pieces on a Thursday because you're like, this is gonna pay dividends to me when I'm sat on the sideline as head coach in however many years that is.
Who cares?
And it's a humility that not a lot of people could do too. Like, how do you disconnect your entire career and experiences from starting out as a rookie coach now? It's like, how do you separate that? A lot of people obviously would be like, but like, now you're a rookie again, you're starting out again. Like, how are you able to do that? Like, just bury
Well, there's
yourself
times
in
when
and go
I'm
at it,
picking
like-
out his shots from Rose Ed in the stadium. I'm walking up to pick up the balls. I'm thinking, I scored against Man United. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you're getting at.
You're
right?
shagging balls from this guy. And it's
But who
like,
cares? And I say, and I truly mean it. I say it to the staff, and I say
not
it.
a lot of people can do that,
Best
though.
job in the world. It's the best job in the world.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're playing. You're involved in the game.
I do think that gets lost on so many people just because we have such a young room.
Yeah.
But I genuinely laugh every single time you walk in the morning. You're absolutely buzzing. It's 7:30.
Yeah.
Like, best job in the world, boys. Could be doing anything else, huh?
Yeah.
Best job in the world. And then there's some guy foam rolling, just like
Half
man.
asleep,
Yeah.
with his phone like this, and you're like, best job
what
in
are
the
you?
world.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Let's get up. Let's get her
But
going.
but it's my job to say to him,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Switch on.
Like that. No, your career. Like
Oh,
that,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Like,
That's even bigger then.
Right,
Really
like-
switch on. I mean, both of those I think need to be like mindful of a young professional. It's
Yeah.
like you need to know that this goes by in the blink of an eye, and more often than not, you don't have a say in when it ends,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Like, you played such a long again before you came to Forge. Had you ever played for a trophy?
no.
Like, playing in a final for a trophy?
No, because when we got promoted at Burnley, we finished second. There is no, well, there's a trophy, but
Yeah.
you don't play in the playoffs. Right? You just get promoted.
So then you have that unbelievable career, Canadian kid, go over Europe, make a name for yourself, established, play for multiple teams, come back to Forge, and you have your first chance to play for a trophy in 2019. And obviously, being a part of that with you, I saw how much it meant to you. But now on the other side, you're walking through a change room, and it's like, guys, like, you need to know. This goes by quick. And also, you might never play a meaningful game in your career.
No.
Which is insane. So then it's kind of what I thought you were touching out there is, you walk in a building, it's like your on switch has to be on now, because we have an unbelievable opportunity and we're lucky to do what we do, where you come in, you literally play soccer for your job.
Yeah.
It's hard work, but it's really only like 5-7 hours a day.
Wow.
What else are you going to be doing when you go home?
I think that's the problem.
Literally,
I think that was the problem.
and,
Right?
and,
But
like, that's the stuff, and it's
that's
like,
the
guys,
stuff.
like,
Best job in the world.
that's the beauty of the
But
CPL
here,
too.
you said about that. So my approach now is I'm coming in this armed with all of the tools I need that I didn't have, that I wasn't given, because it was just football then. Sports science wasn't even around when I first broke in the first team, right? You might have got a protein drink, right?
And a beer.
Yeah, and a beer. It's official. But the people drank every game, and that was standard. You went to the players' lounge and you had a pint with the other team.
Yeah.
Right? It was just what.
That's unbelievable.
That doesn't happen now,
Yeah.
and for very good reasons, because it's bad.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot from that, right? And now I'm arming myself with the tools, the education to go. Okay, football's great. When I'm in the building, I'm great. It's when you leave, what are you going to do? How are you going to be a good dad? How are you going to be a good husband? How am I going to take my knowledge and the stuff like you talked about that I learned in my career into the outside world? How can I make other people have a good day, right? Like, feel a purpose in their life.
Correct.
Find it. I have it. Like, it's the best feeling in the world.
I'm ready to run through a wall right now.
Right? Like,
Yeah, and this is what you're good at too. Like, you're good at laughing stuff off. But I mean, I just want to say too, like, I think certainly the Forge guys right now, like, they're lucky to have you and your perspective now after having done all that work and come through it. Like, for you to be there for them, I think everyone should just be soaking up every second of it. I love that, like, you place a big importance on how everyone saw David Edgar, the man, and your character versus, on the pitch. Yeah. But to be bringing that to a young league like the CPL and a young team, like, I know it's a young team like Forge, like, it's pretty meaningful, I think, for, like, this thing and this team to have any success, like guys like you bringing that back. So I commend you for the work you've done. It's clearly been a long career, and you're still, now you're just starting out again. It's like, I can see how excited
second
you
act.
are. Like,
Call it the second act.
And like, what better than to have a coach that, I think that's what I was like asking at the start. Like, some kids won't go to practice on their own if they're not forced to drive there.
No.
And so it's like, you're kind of doing that, like, now even at the professional level.
Yeah.
It's like, what you're bringing to the team is that, like, passion that's, like, where it needs to be. So it's cool to see.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
There's always the kid who shows up to training and forgets his boots, huh? The kid growing no, not this guy. But no. That's hilarious. Yeah, they didn't last very long, did
No,
they? Those
no.
guys. No.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that's a perfect way to leave her. I don't want to take you all day.
We
but
got
Maybe just give us a little rundown of what you're up to now. Like, what is the next? Like, what's, we're talking transitions, we're talking big decisions. What's the next thing you're going to be obsessed with other than the coaching? Sounds like you got other stuff going on.
man, you caught me at a phase in my life where that's a great question, because what's next is literally what's next. Like, I'm going to move on to the next thing today. Right? Not thinking 10, 15 years, 5 months. I'm thinking what's next today and what I have to do and how do I have to do it and approach it in the best manner, right? How do I go home and give absolutely everything to my kids now, right? That's the day-to-day stuff. The little by little, a little goes a lot. And tomorrow I wake up and I come with the same attitude at 7 a.m. and we go again. Sean Dyche used to say, we go again. Win, lose, or draw, we go again. And we won a lot more than we lost that year.
We go again. What was the other Dicey line that he said?
My favorite is he used to shout, when things were good in football, he used to go, champagne! You can talk about Dicey for hours.
I think
the one is
the shin pads in training.
Oh, shin pads in training, no cans.
No cans getting on the bus.
The first meeting he ever had, it sounded like he said it himself, but it sounded like he was chewing gravel. And but he comes, he goes, thing comes off, I swear to God. Kieran Trippier told this in a podcast. The TV screen comes and he walks in the way he did. He used to storm in everywhere, right? And he came in, he goes, I only got 2 rules. He said, shin pads in training and no cans on the bus. And I look around and go, what the are cans? Like, what are cans? He's like, cans, headphones, take them off. No headphones getting off the bus.
Take them off.
Take them off. Right? I sort of absolutely brilliant. Sorry, third rule was no tiger on a Monday night. Kieran Trippier, David Edgar, Keith Tracy named us. I never met the guy before.
But he knew. He knew.
Nothing. You can get away with nothing with managers.
That's unbelievable.
Right?
How much are you gonna pull from Dicey or what are some of the like you've had like 25 coaches over the course of your career?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with like head coaches probably. Like.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna pull from
I
those
could get
guys?
someone sacked. That's what my uncle said. He said you were going to get someone sacked. Yeah.
What turnover rate with Eddie? That thing was unbelievable.
Oh shit, we're not signing him. He's going to get me sacked. That's why I didn't get signed. No, I knew from a young age, right? So we talk about that Newcastle team. I used to watch them and train them. Go. I knew who were the good guys who did the right things. At a young age, right? And I knew what the players liked from managers. Bear in mind, my first coach I got to work with was Bobby Robson, like an absolute legend. So, and first of all, I would never have anything bad to say about him. But then you have like Sam Allardyce, Graham Souness, those guys come in, and I see how Alan Shearer, Kieran Dyer, Craig Bellamy, what do they think of his sessions? What do they like about on the field, off the field? How do they like their schedule? How do they like? When do they eat? When do we fly? Those things. And I took from a manager. Oh, that's good. Oh, the players like that. I like that. I never wrote this stuff down. I probably should have through my career, but it was here, and I absorbed the good and the bad, right? And it was taking away of not necessarily what worked for me, but what worked for the group, what works best for this, because footballers, athletes are some of the smartest dumb people I've ever come across, right?
Facts.
You can't get anything past us.
Exactly. We say it all the time, and like the dumbest person in the room will pick up when the main thing is when something's fake.
Yeah.
Like if the coach really doesn't mean it, or he thinks he's doing it for a reason to get a response. The kid in the room who hasn't said anything, or maybe doesn't even play, like feel like you feel like he's not even paying attention. Is like, that doesn't feel right. That's off. What's going on with that?
Yeah.
So it's tough, man. I think it's very hard, and it takes a long time to build a culture. But in sports, you can just lose it one action.
If you started your career, right? Let me ask you a question. You started your career, and if someone said to you, you're going to go do this, this, and this, but you've got an opportunity to come build the game in the country you love, and really build it. Not this Mickey Mouse, but this is building it. You would do it again?
Like if I could, at the very beginning of my career, I started
your career will go the same, but you're coming back and you're here and you're going to build it.
Yeah, I think I will.
Yeah, it's great.
It's easy to say now because I'm still playing.
Yeah.
I think part of me is I look back at those early years and
yeah, for sure.
And I have just regrets, just in terms of things that I know I should have done better. But there's so much stuff in this game that's out of your control. And I think that's a very hard thing to realize at a young age, especially when you're first starting out your career. But the sooner you realize there's so little in your control, and you can only control what your attitude, your body language, your work rate is almost it.
Yeah, because you can't control if you give a pass away.
Yeah.
It's those three things.
And if you can do those the best of your ability every single day, like, you're going to give yourself the best chance of success. So I think there's, again, we speak of those middle months in a season when you're not having your best time. I wish I could go back and do that. But being a part of this and being a part of something that's bigger than myself and seeing what it means to this country and like where we're at, it's special.
Yeah. And at the same time, you caught me 10 years ago, I would call this fluff. Right, and this is the stuff. 10 years ago, I would say, I can't talk like this. This is fluff to me because I didn't feel it, but I know what I know it now. Right, I know the feeling. I know the rights and wrongs, and it's like, again, easy now in hindsight. But
we've also
been fluff.
We've also sat in those meetings together where it has been fluff, and we've called that out.
Yeah,
because if you are going to actually build something, you have to throw out a couple buzzwords. But when you mean it, when you hold people to that and you're accountable as a group, like the things that you guys can achieve,
the things on the wall are whatever, but it's the day-to-day stuff, right?
What do you say when we've all done it, conversations about the CPL, when someone is acting like it's fluff? What's your elevator pitch on the CPL? Because we're going to be talking tons about, it's like we all want this to succeed and be the thing we want. What do you
it shouldn't, listen, if you know me, there shouldn't be a pitch. Like, you know me. So if I'm involved in it, I'm doing it to a standard, right? I'm doing it to the standard. So there is no pitch. The pitch is I'm involved in it day to day, and I know this is good.
Yeah, you're here.
I'm here.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
But say I don't know David Edgar.
Say that's true.
I watch the EPL and someone says, there's a game between York and Forge tonight, and I say,
I talk about young talent. I talk about an up-and-coming league. I talk about the World Cup coming. I talk about all these things. I talk about where I come from, that these opportunities weren't here, that I had to go abroad, and it's keeping the talent here now from not going abroad and developing it so we can go, right? Yeah. So those are it's easy. You can talk about football. I can pitch it all day, but the fans, you're going to have to build this thing, and it's going to take time because. I would have been the first to say to my dad, can we go watch Forge play? And I would have been a Forge fan. And I would have dreamed of being the next Kyle Bekker. Right? That's what our goal has to be here.
It's funny because it does seem so easy for us and the ones that have seen it too. It's like, why wouldn't you come out and watch? What's productive in talking shit about something being small when it's starting?
Yeah. Close-mindedness.
Yeah. So close-mindedness. I think we're all, we've all bet on the CPL and think we know where it can be. That documentary that came out about the start of the EPL. The one on Amazon. It's
amazing.
People forget that 25 years ago
they didn't want it to happen.
It was not that big, obviously massive.
It wasn't even a popular decision.
It was a massive English league.
Yeah.
It's not like what everyone sees it today. So it's how can you not be excited about
Why not us?
being a part of that from the start of the CPL? That's I commend you guys on that decision of wanted to take Canadian soccer to the next level.
There's a part of me too that I don't consider myself from the start. He's from the start, and that's what I really appreciate because I look up to those guys and the guys still in the league, right? So that's more of a step. Yeah. I came because I wanted to play some football, and then I embraced what was already here. Yeah. Right.
Well, I don't know. I've seen how you've interacted with fans and kids and players, and in terms of a spokesman for the game, it doesn't get much better than you. So
appreciate it, man.
Glad to have you here. And,
I love this. I love this.
What about you in terms of just coaching the next? You just Forge?
Yeah,
sticking around.
We're here. We're here till Bobby gets rid of me, right? But it's a great club. It's a great league. It's a great ownership. And I mean that. I truly mean that because I've been in some shitty places, and people think it's amazing because you're over there or you want to be in the CPL and you want to leave. Yeah. Go. Then call me. Yeah. We'll chat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. You killed it, of course. Let's wrap it there, I think.
Pencil me in for another episode, boys.
You'll be back for another episode. I think we definitely need to just have more we'll just drop a name. Yeah. You have a story from every place, every person.
He's got a guy for everything.
You got a guy for
David Edgar, the man who's got a guy for everything.
I can't do much for myself, but I got someone who'll do it.
My man. Appreciate it. Thanks
guys.
for having
Thank
me.
you, man. Pleasure.
All right, guys.
Cheers, guys.
All right, there he was, David Edgar, best guest ever on the podcast.
One of one.
Legend.
Yeah. Not much more we can say. Thank you guys for listening to the first episode of the Captain's Log. Tune in next time.
This was The Captain's Log with Kyle Bekker and Mitch Houlahan, presented by Bench Brewing. The guys will drop another episode sometime, whenever they get to it. In the meantime, we would love and appreciate for you to like, follow, subscribe, click on the little bell, do all the things in all the places you get entertained, and you'll find more of this type of content. And that also means we get to spend more time together on the Forge Audio Network.